Have you ever had a feeling deep in your gut that something just wasn't right? A feeling that defies all logic, all the evidence right in front of your eyes. Today's story is about a billionaire who had everything, and in one moment lost it all. Or so he thought. Because on the darkest day of his life, at his own daughter's funeral, a stranger would walk in and say just 3 words that would change everything. This is a story about grief, hope, and the incredible power of a child's faith. The rain had finally stopped, but the sky over the Croft estate remained a solid, sorrowful grey. It was a perfect mirror for the storm raging inside Alistair Croft. Here was a man who had it all. A billionaire venture capitalist. He could solve complex problems with a snap of his fingers. He could make markets rise and fall with a single decision. But today he was powerless. Today he was just a father, standing in the cold, silent family mausoleum, saying goodbye to his entire world. His 7-year-old daughter, Ilara, lay in a small casket lined with ivory satin. She was dressed in her favorite cream-colored dress, a delicate crown of white flowers resting on her golden hair. She looked peaceful like a sleeping angel. But she wasn't sleeping. The doctors at Crestwood Meadows Hospital had been very clear. A sudden arrhythmia, they said. An undiagnosed heart defect. There was nothing we could do. The time of death was etched into Alistair's soul. 3:17 p.m. He stood there, a statue in a tailored black suit. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. The whispers of the mourners, friends, family, business partners, faded into a dull hum. He couldn't hear them. He could only see his little girl. His Ilara, who loved to paint and who always left a trail of glitter wherever she went. Just as the priest stepped forward to begin the service, a soft sound echoed through the marble hall. Click-clack, click-clack. It was the sound of small bare feet on polished stone. Everyone turned. And there he was. A little boy no older than 6, standing in the grand archway of the mausoleum. He didn't belong. He was painfully thin, dressed in faded dusty blue overalls that were too big for him. His skin was smudged with dirt and his feet were bare. But his eyes were wide, deep, and held a wisdom that seemed far older than his years. A simple, heart-shaped pendant made of tin hung from a string around his neck. Alistair's brother, Charles, moved quickly. "Hey, who are you?" "This is a private service," he said. His voice a harsh whisper, trying to usher the boy away. But the boy dodged his grasp. He didn't look at the rich, shocked adults. He only had eyes for Ilara. He walked straight up to the casket, his small, dirty feet padding softly on the floor. Without a hint of fear or hesitation, he reached out and placed his tiny hand right over Ilara's cold, still one. Alistair jolted out of his stupor. "Wait, what are you doing?" he asked, his voice raspy from days of disuse. The boy looked up, and in a voice that was quiet, yet so clear it cut through the silence like a knife, he spoke 3 words that shattered the reality of everyone in that room. "She's not dead." A woman gasped. Someone dropped a program. The priest froze, his Bible halfway open. Alistair felt his heart stop. "What did you say?" The boy, Leo, looked him directly in the eyes. "She's not dead." "Not really. Not yet. Her heart is slow, but it's not gone. You just can't see it." Chaos erupted. Who is this child? Where are his parents? Someone remove him. But Alistair couldn't look away from Leo. He remembered Ilara talking about a new friend, a boy who lived in the park and could carve toys out of sticks. He thought she was imagining a storybook character. Then Leo pointed a small, accusing finger across the room. He said she was gone. But she wasn't. He was pointing directly at the family's trusted doctor, the man who had signed Ilara's death certificate himself, Dr. Silas Vance. The elderly man's face, usually so calm and assured, went pale as milk. His hands began to shake. "That's preposterous," Dr. Vance sputtered, wiping his brow. "Greg, Alistair, I have never seen this boy before in my life. He's clearly disturbed." But Alistair saw it. He saw the flicker of panic in the doctor's eyes. He remembered how quickly Dr. Vance had declared her gone. How he had insisted there was no need for a second opinion. How he had strongly, almost desperately, suggested a swift cremation. And in that moment, the billionaire's unshakable faith in facts and experts began to crack. Because a homeless, barefoot boy with nothing to his name but a tin heart pendant was telling a truth that a man of science was desperately trying to hide. The world of billionaire Alistair Croft had been utterly shattered. At his daughter Ilara's funeral, a homeless boy named Leo had made an impossible claim. "She's not dead." And he had pointed a finger at the one man who should have been beyond reproach, the family doctor Silas Vance. Now, in that cold marble mausoleum, a battle was beginning. A battle between established authority and a child's unwavering faith. Let's see what happens next. The air in the mausoleum was so thick with tension you could almost touch it. All eyes were darting between the frail, dusty boy, the ashen-faced doctor, and the billionaire whose grief was now rapidly twisting into something else, a desperate, burning need for the truth. "What is he talking about, Silas?" Alistair's voice was low, but it vibrated with a dangerous intensity. "You told me her heart stopped. You told me there was no hope." Dr. Vance straightened his tie, a nervous, jerky movement. "Alistair, please. This is the grief talking. This urchin is clearly confused. He's creating a fantasy." Her heart had stopped. There were no vitals. It was a tragedy, but these things happen. But Leo wasn't listening to the doctor. His attention was solely on Ilara. He gently reached into the pocket of his overalls and pulled out a small, clumsily carved wooden whistle. It was no bigger than his thumb, shaped with patient, childish hands. "She gave me this," Leo said, his voice a little stronger now. He held it out for Alistair to see. "At the fountain in the park. 2 days before she fell asleep. She found me under my bench. She shared her apple and her cookies with me. She said this whistle was magic. That if I ever felt alone, I should blow it and she'd try to hear me." Alistair's breath caught in his throat. Ilara had come home talking about sharing her snack. She'd begged him to go back to the park to see her new friend. He'd been too busy, promising another time. The guilt was a physical blow. Leo continued, his story pouring out. "I saw her. The big museum. She was looking at the shiny rocks and then she just fell. Like a doll." His small face crumpled at the memory. "Everyone was screaming. They pushed me away. But I saw him." He pointed again at Dr. Vance. He felt her neck and said, "She's gone. It's too late." But she wasn't. I touched her hand when they put her on the big bed with wheels. It was still warm. Dr. Vance looked like he was about to be sick. "The body can retain warmth for a short time after clinical death. It's a known medical fact." "This proves nothing," he insisted, but his voice was cracking, his confidence crumbling. Alistair ignored him. He was watching Leo. The boy placed the tiny wooden whistle carefully on Ilara's chest, right over her heart. He closed his eyes, his dirty fingers resting gently on the casket's edge. He began to whisper, so softly that only those closest could hear. "You said you'd come back if someone believed hard enough," he murmured. "I believe. I'm here." A profound silence fell over the room. No one moved. No one breathed. The only sound was the distant drip of rainwater from the trees outside. And then it happened. A gentle breeze, seemingly from nowhere, whispered through the open mausoleum door. It rustled the hair of the mourners and fluttered the pages of the priest's Bible. It swept across Ilara's casket, and the petals on the flower crown resting on her head trembled. A collective, sharp intake of breath echoed off the marble walls. Alistair stared, his heart hammering against his ribs. Did I imagine that? Then he saw it. Unmistakable. A tiny, almost imperceptible movement. Ilara's lips, which had been still and pale, parted just a fraction. A faint, shallow breath ghosted out. "She breathed," a woman shrieked. "Oh my God," she breathed. Pandemonium erupted. People cried out, some stumbling back in fear, others surging forward in disbelief. The scene of quiet mourning exploded into a cacophony of screams and shouts. In the midst of it all, the little boy Leo, whose small body had been fueled by nothing but sheer will and faith, finally gave out. His eyes fluttered closed, and he collapsed in a small heap on the cold floor beside the casket. The sound of his fall snapped Alistair into action. The billionaire was gone. The father had returned, fierce and protective. He dropped to his knees, gathering the unconscious boy into his arms. He was so light, so fragile. "Leo! Leo!" Alistair cried, cradling him. He looked up, his voice roaring over the chaos with the force of a man used to being obeyed. "Somebody help him. Now. Get water. Get blankets. And someone call an ambulance. A real one." Then his eyes locked onto Dr. Silas Vance, who was backing away toward the wall, his face a mask of sheer terror. Alistair's finger shot out, pointing like a blade. "And don't let that man anywhere near my daughter." In that moment, Alistair Croft knew. The doctors rushed to cremate. His dismissal of a second opinion. It wasn't just protocol. It was a cover-up, a way to hide a catastrophic mistake. And a homeless boy with a heart of gold had almost been buried alive because of it. The funeral had erupted into chaos. A single breath had given a father the hope he thought was lost forever. His daughter Ilara was alive. And the boy who had saved her, Leo, lay unconscious in his arms. Now a race against time begins, not just to heal their bodies, but to rebuild a world that had been shattered into 1,000 pieces. This is the story of a new beginning. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, cutting through the panic at the mausoleum. For Alistair Croft, time seemed to both slow down and speed up. He knelt on the cold floor, one arm cradling the frail, unconscious Leo, the other stretched out to touch his daughter's hand inside the casket. Her skin, which had felt like cold wax just minutes before, now held a faint, undeniable warmth. "Stay with me, sweetheart. Daddy's here. Just hold on," he whispered to Ilara. His voice choked with tears he no longer fought. He then looked down at the boy in his arms. "And you, little hero, you stay with me too." The paramedics arrived, their professional calm a stark contrast to the scene of wealthy mourners in complete disarray. Their initial confusion, they'd been called to a funeral for a medical emergency, melted into stunned action the moment they checked Ilara's pulse. "I've got a thread radial pulse," one yelled, his eyes wide with disbelief. In moments, Ilara was carefully, tenderly, lifted from the casket that was meant to be her eternal resting place and onto a stretcher. Leo was placed on another, wrapped in a shock blanket. Alistair climbed into the back of the ambulance, refusing to let either child out of his sight. He never even glanced back at the mausoleum, or at the crumbling figure of Dr. Silas Vance, who was being questioned by stone-faced family members. The ride to Crestwood Meadows Hospital was a blur. This time, Alistair was not a passive victim of fate. He was a commander, barking orders into his phone, demanding the heads of every medical department meet them at the ER, calling for independent specialists from across the city. He would leave nothing to chance. Not again. At the hospital, a team of bewildered but brilliant doctors swarmed both children. Hours ticked by in the sterile, quiet waiting room, each minute feeling like an eternity. Finally, the lead specialist, a no-nonsense woman named Dr. Evans, came to find Alistair. "Mr. Croft," she began, her expression one of pure awe. "What happened to your daughter is... it's medically extraordinary. She experienced a very rare phenomenon called Lazarus syndrome." "Lazarus syndrome," Alistair repeated, the biblical reference not lost on him. Dr. Evans nodded. "It's when a person's heart spontaneously restarts after failed resuscitation efforts. It's incredibly rare, and many medical professionals go their entire careers without seeing a true case. Her body had shut down to an almost undetectable level. Without advanced specific monitoring, she would have been declared deceased, which she was. The boy. Leo, he was right. She was never truly gone. Tears streamed freely down Alistair's face. It was a miracle explained by science, but witnessed only by faith. And the boy? Alistair asked, his voice thick with emotion. Malnourished, severely dehydrated and exhausted, Dr. Evans said, her tone softening. But he's strong. He's sleeping now. He just needs rest, good food and care. Alistair was shown to a private room. There, side by side in 2 hospital beds, were his daughter and the boy who saved her. Ilara was still asleep, and 4 drip in her arm, but color was returning to her cheeks. In the bed next to her, Leo was sleeping deeply, his face finally peaceful and clean. Alistair pulled a chair between them, holding one of each of their hands. He sat there for hours, watching them breathe, a silent vigil of gratitude. It was in the quiet of the early morning that Ilara's eyelids fluttered. She blinked slowly, her eyes struggling to focus in the dim light. They landed on her father. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice a dry, raspy little sound. It was the most beautiful word Alistair had ever heard. He broke then, sobbing uncontrollably, burying his face in her bedsheets, kissing her hand over and over again. "I'm here, baby girl. I'm right here. You're safe." Later that day, when Leo awoke, Alistair was at his bedside, holding a bowl of chocolate pudding. The boy's eyes were clear and alert. "You saved her," Alistair said, his voice full of a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "The doctors told me what you did. You are the bravest person I have ever known." Leo gave a small, shy smile. "She told me you'd say that," he said simply. A few weeks later, the story was all over the news. Billionaire daughter back from the brink. Homeless boy's miracle. But for Alistair, the headlines didn't matter. What mattered was the scene in his living room. Ilara, growing stronger every day, teaching a now clean and well-fed Leo how to paint. The boy who had once slept under a park bench now had a room of his own down the hall, filled with toys and, most importantly, love. Alistair Croft, the man of data and deals, had learned a new language, the language of the heart. He formally adopted Leo, making him his son. And true to the promise his daughter had made in the park, he established the Ilara and Leo Foundation, pouring his vast wealth into building shelters and providing support for homeless children everywhere. As for Dr. Silas Vance, he resigned his medical license and faced a series of lawsuits. But Alistair didn't care about vengeance. His energy was now spent on building a future, not dwelling on the past. He often watched his 2 children playing together, a reminder that the most profound truths aren't found in boardrooms or bank accounts. They are found in the kindness of a little girl sharing her apple, in the unwavering faith of a lonely boy, and in the second chances we are sometimes miraculously given. If this story touched your heart, if it gave you a little bit of hope, then do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories just like this one. We have so many more amazing tales to share with you. Let me know in the comments below. What was the most powerful moment in this story for you? And where in the world are you watching from? We love connecting with our global family of story lovers. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, always look for the helpers and never ever stop believing in miracles. Bye for now.